Hey guys, Nathan here, Polysource Industries. Today we're going to be getting into a bit more tech stuff on machine side rather than your transfer pumps and your guns. We're going to be working with the Graco hydraulic drive pumps, rebuilding those. So if you're leaking into your DOP system from your ISO, anything like that, it's just not running right, you're having some scoring on your pistons, you're going to know how to rebuild this and what to look for at the end. So let's get into this and start building. The piston here, okay, you want to make sure that you have a nice smooth face of your piston. If there's any kind of scoring, scratches up the piston, you want to get that resurfaced. Buy a new one. If you don't have a place that resurfaces pistons in your area, figure it out, because if those get bad enough, it can leak past the packings. Okay, so we're going to take our U-cup here, packing, and just run a little bit of grease in here so it goes on. You want to make sure that the ribbing is facing down so it can pull fluid properly. Give it a little bit of even pressure, pushing down. Okay, all the way down there. You take your retainer, stick that guy on there. This is your piston cap. This guy goes on there, okay. And we take this nice little bolt that comes with the kit and the 242 blue Loctite and just put a drop on there. And just screw that guy in. If you're new to putting in screws or bolts or anything like that, you have a history of cross-threading it. If you turn the bolt or screw backwards to loosen motion, and you'll hear a click where the two threads end up meeting up, and then you start going forward, you will never cross thread anything ever again. And you just want to tighten that up until these aren't moving up and down or side to side. Okay, so that guy is good. It's ready to go in our pump. Alright guys, sorry about the background noise, but we are building rigs out there, so we'll just try and power through. Alright, so I just want to mention with the kit that we did use for this piston is the 120 piston kit, because that's what we're building for this pump. You got to make sure you have the right one. Always refer to your manual if you need anything, right? The numbers on it over here saying what you need will correlate to here, and it tells you in the chart which chart you need to go to, and that will tell you which pump kit you need. For this one, the 120, it's kind of the most common one. This is for the piston is 261845, okay, and that's already on here installed. Now we're going to be installing the 261852, and that is for the throat of the pump. Alright, so let's get down here and get building this. Alright guys, so we have this block here, okay, this is kind of the medium size of the three, okay. We're going to start with this guy here. So you'll notice this hole here, that's for where your interconnect goes to the fitting, so that this can run off to your block heater after it's been pressurized. This being our A side, okay, our DOP system is essentially, or lubricating system is going to be that way. If you want to figure out which side of this it needs to be, you can kind of just take this housing and stick it in there. It doesn't obviously fit on that one, so you know which one's which in case you got your parts mixed up. Another thing to mention is there is where your grease nipple is going to be going here. You're going to want that facing the front of your machine, okay? And just to make sure you know which one's the front, sometimes it's nice to just marker or a piece of tape, set it up there, just because then when you're working on it, you know which way is which, okay? This is the throat adapter, and I'm just going to give this guy a little bit of grease on everything. And this guy just goes right inside there. And this is our piston bushing. It is dark brown. It's got a small pinhole here. This is where that grease nipple is going to be shooting grease through. into your whole pump assembly. So remember how we made that little white mark here? So I know that this is where my grease nipple is going to be, so I want to have this point to that side, okay? And we're just going to lubricate that inside and out because it's going to be hard to get everything lubed up once the piston's actually going in. So next thing is, this is the U-cup packing, okay? It's got a little spine. We're just going to give this a little bit of grease inside and out. And we want to take this guy, okay, and this ribbing facing down. So you just put a little bit of pressure here, even, steady. Don't just, you know, start hammering on it. You want a constant pressure on it so you're not bending anything or flexing it weird, breaking it, okay? Paper gasket, see? There's this little guide. Okay, I have a very large manual that I use. This comes with it on how to install all this. Sometimes your paper gasket gets, you know, hidden in that. If you don't see this on your table after you've opened everything, go check the garbage. It's probably sitting in there. Yes, you do need this, okay? So this guy sets up there. And this guy. This whole thing flips over. You want to just seat it there. You want to just make sure that you can see through the holes of the paper gasket as well as see the holes where everything's going to be screwing in. Okay. We have these bolts that came in the kit. You'll notice that they're a lot different size than these bolts. And you're thinking, Nate, what the heck's going on? Graco sent me the wrong parts. No, they didn't. These ones go in the other holes. They're a bit wider, and you want to actually put them opposite. Okay. Start screwing these guys in. And you can just screw them down, you know, one at a time until they get to the face of it. And then you want to start walking it in so everything seats evenly. So you get this down. Okay, you don't want it to start going until they're both kind of there. Okay, and then just do a couple turns on one, a couple turns on the other. This little cylinder, if you're having issues getting this clean, you can take, you know, a wire brush on a drill, a little bit of glycol ether, something like that, and just run it up and down it. Sometimes it's nice to have them. I've already pre-done mine, so it's good to be installed. So we're just going to take our little O-rings here. These come in your 261859, and these are your number 1s. Okay. That guy just there. I don't know if I mentioned it already. Make sure you grease all your O-rings. We are fans of grease. You should be fans of grease too. Now we have fluid tube. It's called the crossover tube. Okay. Grease. These are your O-ring, Teflon O-ring number 2 in the kit. A little bit harder to get on sometimes. Alright, that guy can just sit there for now. Now we'll get into this little check valve assembly and the cage. I like to call it the cage just because it sounds a lot more dangerous that way. First we have our number 9. Okay, so they're in this kit. There are 2 number 9s and 1 number 6. Just kind of stick them all together, these 3 that are close together, and you know, the one that is a little bit bigger is your number 6. All right, and that one goes at the top. So first we're going to be installing the number 9 at the bottom. So now this is our number 11 of the pump build, and it's the carbide inlet ball seat. Okay, and I just like to put a little bit of grease. So you want to check this guy. There's like a micro bevel right here, okay, that is going to be where your ball actually seats on. If you have a nick there, you're going to lose pressure on the backstroke of your pump. If the one is damaged, luckily, you know, they have the other side, so you can always use that guy. And just drop that in. Okay, next going into the cage match here is Senior Big Ball. Okay, if you have, you know, if you're reusing this guy, just make sure it's cleaned up. There's no goobers on it, any hardened ISO or anything like that. You want this thing to have a nice seat. That's why we're inspecting that carbide inlet ball seat. All right, and this guy can just get dropped right in there, and they're gonna go play. Next is your number 22 on it is the spring. Okay, I don't really feel the need to grease this guy ever. You can if you want, it's up to you. Next, entering the ring, we got the inlet ball guide with outlet ball seat. That's why I call it the cage. All right, so you can give this guy a little bit of lube, top and bottom. He's gonna sit on some stuff, okay? It has this little carbide seat for the small ball. And it ends up sitting on top like that. So you want to inspect this seat. Make sure there's no ISO chunks on it, no damage, scoring, anything like that, okay? And this guy just sits on top. If you're having issues getting it to sit on top, just, you know, stick a pick in there and kind of move your spring around so that it can slide over. Okay, so next is the small ball, okay? He just sits on that carbide seat like we just discussed. And next is your other number 9 O-ring. And what do we need? A little bit of grease. So your number 6 O-ring, he likes the grease. Okay. All right, that just sits around this top cap, which is the ball guide cap. And having to look things up. All right, now this guy screws in here, okay? But that's your normal way of doing it. Here at Polysource, we don't do things the normal way. We like to be a little bit better than everybody and make sure that when you go to work on this down the road, it's not going to be seized or anything like that. So what do? We add a little bit of grease, okay? ISO gets in there, hardens up. It's not going to come out easy. Some people take it even further. They put some grease, then some Teflon, and then some grease, okay? I got greasy hands. We're gonna take this over to the vise, tighten it up. Some people wait until they have it on the machine, but if you forget, well, have fun cleaning up ISO. All right, off we go. So what we're gonna do is assemble all this mess of parts into a nice, beautiful Graco pump. Take this guy here, this housing, all right. We have both our dots for the front. So make sure that your name of it is facing those white marks that we had before. And we're just gonna put our friend, Mr. Grease. We don't need no Sochas out here. Okay. Sometimes it needs a little bit extra love. Okay, so now we can take our piston here, grease up the outside of the packing, all that jazz. Okay. Grease up the inside. your grease is a little bit thick, sometimes I rub a bit of the TSL on the white lithium afterwards and make what I like to call a little super grease, but okay, so now give this guy a little bit extra love all the way down. A little bit extra grease. And just because it's having some issues, so a little bit of TSL that we soak some felts in. I'm just going to make a little bit of my super grease here. Okay. And now this big hole here ends up sitting on here with this guy. We'll get that guy in first. Alright, we'll just turn this guy here so everybody can see at home. So now we need to make sure this guy and this guy go in these holes while it's seating without damaging our O-rings, as well as this piston is going through this packing without damaging the packing or the piston or anything else. It sounds really hard, it's not that hard, okay? And just constant, even pressure on that packing. Don't just start smashing on it. Okay. Get that all lined up. Turn this way. There's our pump. Everything is starting to seat in the right holes. The piston is over here, coming up properly. Nothing's damaged. Now what we can do is the opposite holes of where these big ones went in. Make sure you have your lock washers on here. You can bring these guys in this way. I'm gonna turn this, you know what? We might just get rid of this paper towel. All right, so I just grabbed a socket here. 9/16 hopefully is right, if my memory serves me correct. Hey, there we go. All right, so same thing as before. Okay. Get it so it's just about to kiss. And then just stop them. Okay. You know, it's going to be a bit of a tease sometimes. So now, other one. This one can actually start to suck it in a bit. And we're just going to walk it. Okay. One doing a couple turns. Then the other doing a couple turns. We're not going to torque this up or anything like that just yet. Once this whole thing is seated, then we're going to pull out these other two that we had put in before to seat this, because now everything's being held together by these two, and then I'm going to throw these in. So while we're doing that, maybe we could have a really fast montage. Then it's just like putting on a tire, guys. You want to go, you know, this way, this way, this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Start pattern. It's like torquing anything, right? Snug it up and torque it. So this is our pump build. This is the face of it, okay? Give this a little cleanup if you want. This glycol ether, we sell that here. Polysource, as we are your one-stop shop for everything foam and protective coatings. Alright, so this is our front. Notice we have our little dots here. Luckily it's from a paint pen, so this will just wipe off with our glycol ether. This guy here ends up getting a plug. Alright, so we have plug installed. I put a little Teflon tape onto that guy and just put it in. It's a 1/4 inch Allen key hex socket there. put it in. Next, we're going to be throwing in this grease fitting right here. It's a grease nipple. Alright, so we have the grease fitting in now. Alright, I put a little Teflon tape on that before sticking it in there. We have some other things to go on. The fitting down here, the fitting up here, the fitting and the rupture disc at the back. We'll go into those a bit more in detail when we're actually sticking this whole pump onto the machine, as well as what this fancy cylinder is and what it does and everything like that. If you know, you could comment down below and let us know what you think it is. But yeah, we'll go farther into this a bit later. For now, let's wrap this up just so we're not dragging it out. Okay guys, that was our Graco hydraulic pump rebuild. Look for us on polysource.ca, also on YouTube, our Polysource page on there. Make sure you subscribe, like, if you want to see other videos or anything like that. Comment on it, you know, shoot us an email, or, you know, pick up a phone like an old school spray foam guy. And hopefully this helped you out a lot and you're back up and happy foaming.
Polysource Industries, your one-stop shop for all things foam and protective coatings.